This is the Skywing PP EDGE540, just arrived. Here's everything out of the box. First step, we'll start by installing the motor box onto the fuselage, and we've got some reinforcement balsa sticks here that we'll add to it. Test fit it first. Use 30-minute epoxy, and the glue is setting up on the motor box. It's all clamped into place. Motor box is installed. I added some additional bracing, some carbon fiber down in there, just to beef it up a little bit more, and one on top. Now I'm going to go ahead and install the motor and the speed control. Motor's temporarily installed, and I need to see if I need a spacer to extend it out past the cowl, so I'm going to go ahead and remove this piece of plywood in here. And the cowl is attached to the fuselage with magnets. Looks good. No need to use the washers. Plenty of clearance. So the motor's installed and it's connected up to the speed control, and you've got it connected up to the receiver. Next, we install the hinges into the ailerons and the rudder and the elevator, and I'm going to go ahead and use epoxy to secure that in there. Okay, the hinges are all attached to the control surfaces, and now I'm going to go ahead and attach the ailerons to the wings, the hinges, as well as the elevator to the horizontal stabilizer. And I like to go ahead and test fit the aileron to the wing and all the other controls as well before I glue them in place, just to make sure that everything is lined up real well. I'm going to use 30-minute epoxy in case there's any foam inside that is not agreeable with CA. Next, we'll install the wing roots onto the wings and the control horns on all 4 control surfaces. Control horns are just pushed into the slot. And I'm going to go ahead and epoxy them. Okay, the wing roots are glued on and the control horns are in place and everything's glued in. Install the landing gear next. Cut that little piece right there, and it just bolts right on right there. So I've added a little piece of EPP to kind of act as a shock absorber here. Carbon fiber is really brittle, and this might save the landing gear. And the landing gear is installed. Okay, now we're going to go ahead and complete the tail assembly, and we're going to install the horizontal stabilizer and the elevator next. In order to do that, we need to cut out that little section right there. So we need to cut out this little section right here and here. So I'm using this razor knife right here to cut that. And now we can install the horizontal stabilizer and elevator. Okay, the elevator is pushed all the way forward. It's just sort of a test fit there before I actually glue it in with epoxy. And just making sure it clears there okay. Looks pretty good. I'll go ahead and measure it, make sure it's centered, and glue it in. The elevator is glued in, and the little cutout piece is installed back into the fuselage and glued in. And the rudder's test fit in place. So with the rudder test fit in place, I've got the tail wheel assembly just temporarily screwed in to the fuselage there, just to make sure that we've got the right clearance on everything. And now I'm going to go ahead and glue the rudder onto the fuselage. On the tail wheel assembly, this little collar right here will go in the plastic piece that goes on the bottom of the rudder. Like that, with a set screw going through the plastic piece as well as into the metal collar. So when it's all assembled, it looks like this, and the set screw is what keeps the tail wheel moving with the rudder. So it goes like this. I'll take this plastic piece off of the fuselage, then insert the rudder component in there, and that should do it. And that's a completed tail wheel assembly. Next step is to go ahead and put the control push rods together. Okay, my servos finally arrived and I can go ahead and install them now. I'm using these RotorStar. I had one on my slick on the elevator, and I've got 550 flights on it. It's still going strong. They just put out tremendous torque, 6.8 kilograms at 6 volts. Which is really good, and they're fairly fast, so I'm going to go with these. I'm going to start with the aileron servos. The wire for the servo goes through a little narrow channel right there. The aileron servos and control rods are completed. Next is the rudder servo, and this plane comes with extension wires for the servos. I like to tape the connectors so they can't come loose in the plane. Rudder servos installed. And the elevator servo. Now we'll install the wing tube and the wings. Okay, all the servos are connected. Got my tie downs there for the batteries. Okay, since there's no manual, I'm going to go ahead and guess on the CG. I'm going to start with 120, and if I need to move it back, I'll go back from there. But 130 is what the big 55-inch slick uses, so this seems like it might be a good starting point. Here's the servo travel, full left aileron, full right aileron, full left, full right. Now the elevator, pull up, pull down, just all the way against the stops on the cutout. And the rudder, full left, full right, just until it almost touches the elevator.